It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Tuesday, October 10th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Provi in the media, the practical word study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? It is a wonderful Tuesday. We're getting into the meat of the week. If you haven't yet, go ahead, leave a like and comment to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, Be Born Again, Anew in Body, Soul, and Spirit. Just a great and powerful message. If you haven't listened to the word study yet, we had it yesterday in the second segment. So big happy Thanksgiving to all Canadians out there. It is still Monday for me here. Very relaxed and chill. Everyone has a day off. Everyone is nice and warm in their homes. I did go to the cafe this morning around 7 a.m. and there are some places still open, but for me, today, very, very relaxing day. I'm doing my recording very, very early because I have 2 Thanksgiving meals today, and I'm just going to chill and relax because it is Thanksgiving. A lot of Thanksgiving to give to God, the Holy Spirit, to Jesus, and the man and mission of this time. And I hope that all of us, this is the month of, how great is it having the month of giving glory and Thanksgiving in the same month, which I think is probably better than the way the U.S. does it in November. Boo! Boo to the U.S. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I celebrate. I'm going to be, I would say that the U.S. celebrates it much better than we do. It's much more significant, important than we do. A very huge family thing. But I will have my turkey dinner today. I will post it on my Instagram too. Oh, well, yesterday I went to the gym and I checked my weight, right? Because you remember, I was in Georgia. I ate barbecue like 6 times. 6 days out of the 9 days I was there, I had barbecue 6 times. So much meat. So my regular weight is 84 kilograms, 83 to 84 kilograms. So guess what my weight is now? Just take a guess. Just shout it out. Shout it out. It's 81. I lost like 2 to 3 kilograms. I'm not sure what this is, but maybe this is the result of a carnivore diet. I'm not sure if that's what it means, but I actually lost weight, which is kind of crazy. Eating that much meat and losing weight instead. And I think the good thing about being over there was, I was able to work out every day too, but still, how do you lose 2 to 3 kilograms in a 10-day period when all I ate was just tons and tons of meat all the time? I'm not sure, right? So I found that to be quite interesting that I was able to lose weight instead. So for all of you out there trying to lose weight, maybe the carnivore diet is better. Just keep eating tons of meat and a lot of protein because it worked for me. It worked so much to the point when I got back, my mom was like, the reason why I checked my weight is because my mom was like, did you lose weight? I'm like, there's no way I lost weight. I ate so much meat over there. But my mom was right. I lost 2 to 3 kilos. She's like, yeah, you look like you lost weight. And I was like, oh my gosh, you mean muscle mass? And she's like, no, your face got thinner. I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this carnivore diet thing has something there. But I ate a lot. You guys can ask the people I went out with. We ate a lot. We went to buffets, like meat buffets and stuff like that too. We went to Brazilian steakhouse. Just all you can eat buffet steak for like $23.99. I thought that was super cheap. That it could be that cheap, but I really, really, really enjoyed it. Right? But wow, lost 2-3 kilograms. That's like what 10. That's like 10 pounds almost, right? Almost 10 pounds. 2.5. That's like 7-8 pounds, 7 to 9 pounds around there, right? So that's a lot of weight I lost. So I'm not sure what it is. Maybe I should just I should live in Georgia more because you're gonna lose weight there from the. But it's kind of weird because when you look in the South, there's a lot of people that are pretty heavy set, and they're heavy set. And I thought it's because of the food that they ate, but it didn't work on me. I don't know. Just the thoughts. I had something cool happen to me just yesterday, and I think this is kind of like I feel like it's one of the wills for me to go to Korea. It's just out of like, and this is nothing that is planned. These people I don't keep in constant contact with, but I'm talking to some people just I've known in the past who are no longer in Providence, and they didn't leave this year. They're friends that I ran with, and or some people that I've like did lectures for and stuff like a while back, and these people left a while before. Right, so they weren't people that just left this year. They were people that left a while back. But, after talking to them, just two of these people yesterday out of nowhere, like one was through Instagram. It's like, hey, how's it going? It's like, oh yeah, you're in Seoul, yeah. And then they're like asking because, they're totally not in the loop because they left before, right? So they're so curious, like, how are you still there in Providence? Like, how did you stay? I'm so curious. And remember, these people are not negative. They're very open-minded. They're not like totally like, they're not like the type, they're not the type of people that are like judging and stuff like that. But they're just interested because, we're friends. And they're like, how'd you stay in Providence? I was like, oh man, it's a long story. But you know what? We just decided to meet in Korea. Just meet in Korea. Right. And I look at this as a time that I can testify about this history once again to people who are no longer here. But I can just, both of us are super open. We're non-judgmental and, we're still friends. And I know that being in Korea for them is not easy because there's a lot of talk, a lot of rumors, public opinion plays such a huge role over there. Right. And they're just like, yeah, let's go meet. I wouldn't mind just talking because we are friends. We're friends, right? So I'm excited because it was two people in the same day. Both of them are, like I said, they left before all this happened. I've been friends with them. We've kept in contact, like not every week or every month, but we keep in contact every once in a while. And it was just kind of interesting how both of them on the same day, and in the end, we're just like, yeah, let's go meet for coffee, whatever it is, and we can talk and chill. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll tell you my side of the story, this, and this, and we can just talk. And like, I'm excited about this too because I think this is one of this is kind of one of the results we want. I think like that's what I feel is we should want this type of result where people feel that we're not non-judgmental, we're transparent, we're not there to try to convince them to leave or come back or whatever it is. We're just talking as friends, and that we can build enough trust with people that regardless of what happens, they'll be like, yeah, I left. All right, cool. Yeah, that's fine. You can leave. It's your life, right? I'm completely fine with it. I'm not even going there to convince them to stay, to come back or anything else like that. It's just we talk like regular friends. Oh, what happened? Oh, this is. Oh, what made you stay? Oh, because of this. Oh, okay, that makes sense, right? So for me is I've already got like two people not in Providence, but I will meet up with them, and they're just genuinely curious about what actually happened in the foreign countries and what their thoughts are, right? Like what my thoughts are, what makes me stay, even though there's all this news and stuff out there too. So for me, I just really need to pray and see if this can be an opportunity for for me to testify so that they can see things through my perspective and why I still believe, right? So I am super excited. Like the thing that makes me super excited, like, is not that I'm meeting with them, is that they actually still want to talk to me. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's that's like I said, it's one of the things I think we strive for is we are not here to judge people. We're not here to say that they're bad and we're going to cut off all communications with them, right? And I'm not going to say this for everyone because some people are really, really affected by it. But for myself, being a lot older, I've been through the grind so many times that it's kind of normal for me, and I'm okay. They can choose what they want to do, and I always want to be that back door, right? That back door meaning like, hey, if they ever want to come back, they'll be comfortable with me and talk to me, right? And they still trust me, and they even want to meet with me, and they're fine with it too. So I really hope that all of us too can have that transparency, that openness, non-judgmental view we have towards the people around us, that, that in the future, they won't look at us as like some kind of exclusionary organization that once you leave, we cut off everything from you. We will never talk to you, and we're going to say bad things behind your back, because we shouldn't, right? In the end, we are all human. We all have a story, and sometimes we just need to hear the story to understand it, right? Which kind of leads into another conversation I had with a friend when I was in Georgia, right? And we were talking because some of the people that some of the, during this year, there were a lot of people that try to pull others out. And they were just close to us, people that we've grown up with, people that we've run with since the very beginning. And we were talking about, like, oh man, how sad it was for us and disappointed we were, because it's like, man, these people were close to us. We don't really understand how they could just turn so quickly, but not just turn, but like slander and just say terrible things even before the evidence came out, and trying to get other people to leave too, right? And like, like we already we hear all the stuff happening where some people from other countries will come to meet these people to talk to them, right? And the question that came up is, how disappointed am I? And I was very disappointed in the beginning, very, very shocked, because these were people close to me. But now, it's kind of past the disappointed stage, and it's more of, we've really reached a point in the trials and everything else and all the evidence that has come out that people have kind of made up their own mind, right? Like there's enough evidence now out where we can look at and say, well, this totally doesn't make sense. This makes sense. And where people are either going to believe it or not going to believe. People are like, in the end, people make their own life decisions, and it's their own life. And we're not here to, like I said before, we're not here to convince people otherwise. Like, I don't think that's our role. Our role is not to convince people, come back. No, it's just to testify what God has done. My role, my job is not to convince people to come back. People make their own decisions, right? I'm just going to testify what I've done, why I make my own decision, and that's it. Right? And I think my main role, especially with the Morning Star Drive and everything else like this, my role is to support those that are open-minded and who just want to know more. And if they want to know my story, they'll ask about my story, just like those two people in Korea, like, oh, what's your story kind of thing, right? And it's something that I think it's the proper way to do things, right? It's not about, how dare you leave, or why did you, oh, rah, 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 rah. Like, the only time I would be, I was upset with my friend was when, they're all of a sudden trying to pull people out and started using my name, like saying, oh, Sky believes me too, when I never said that, right? Like some people even said that to others, where it made other people think that I was on the other side, right? Well, they basically lied about it, right? So like I would be upset about those things, right? But ultimately, there's some things that even now I hear some people are talking about this, and it really irks me. Like, I can't stand it when someone says to me or someone else, you don't know what I know. Oh, you don't know what I know, kind of thing. Like, oh, they know something so secretive that is like the smoking gun that is so big that if you heard it, you would believe too. But guess what? If you really believed that this was a smoking gun that was that crucial and that important, why don't you just say it openly? Like, if it's that big, like if you really, really care, if you really think that this is all true and you have the smoking gun, why don't you just say it openly? Why does it have to be hidden where you have to say it only to the people that want to listen to you? Why is there secrecy with something that important, right? Because when you hide information and then you say things, I know something that others don't, right? It better be 100%, not something that someone else said that you believe to be true without 100% evidence, because that's not a smoking gun. Because remember, like it was the same thing with the Netflix audio. It was the smoking gun, but it was unproven, and now we see that it was edited and manipulated, right? So I a lot of times when someone tells me that they have something that I don't know, and I listen to it, it's just their perspective on something Sunseam said or did in the past. But guess what? We have all the info about Sunseam's messages and letters. We have everything. Everything is documented. And that's why for me, I know something is fishy, very fishy, and I know it's something, it's a very dubious and devious way of doing things. I know something that no one else knows. I think that's one of the most ridiculous ways, because if it's that important to you, then say it in the open. And if it's that big, why don't they use it in the trial? Why don't they just use it in the trial, right? Why don't you just give the information to the trial so then it's going to be said, look, 100%, right? So if something's that important that can change people's hearts, then just say it in the open, right? Why do you like put it in hiding and just say like, oh, I know something? Like for me, that's something that, if anyone says that type of stuff to you, don't fall into that trap. It's worthless. That type of stuff is worthless. It really is, right? And by this point, I'm like that one throws like that one totally is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're saying something like that. If that, right? The second thing that I really hate, and this came out in the message with the Friday prayer meeting that was really good, and that was just speculation. But what would you do if it was true? I think that's ridiculous. I think it's a waste of time to even put that question in your head. Because it's not true. It's a speculation. You can do that with anything. What if you're really a girl? What if your mom is not really your mom? Like, these are all what ifs. Like, those are just there to put doubt into your head. Right? Like, why? What's the point of those? Like, if anyone says that thing to you, there's no point of even answering that. It's not even worth it. It's speculation, right? Because like I told you guys before, if anyone comes to you with that, I'm only saying this because someone was saying this to me, like, oh, they said this to me. I don't know how to answer. I was like, don't even answer that. It's just a ridiculous question. What if it was true? Because I can then what about the people who doubt, right? So the people who are on the other side, I can say to them, what if he didn't do it? What if he didn't do it and you're doing this to an innocent guy? How guilty would you feel for not believing in him from the beginning and you went against him? How guilty would you feel? What if he was innocent, right? Then you stopped all your missions. You essentially even stopped your faith. How guilty would you feel in front of God if he was innocent, right? I could say the exact same thing, give you a guilt trip on the other side. That's why the what if situations are pointless. It's not about what if. It's about what is true. And until you prove to me that he's guilty, I continue with my mission. I continue the way I was. Or else, what? You're going to stop every time someone gives you a what if? Every time someone gives you, you're going to stop? Makes no sense. I believe this is, you guys accused. So if you accuse, you have the burden of proof to prove that he is guilty. That's it. And if there are still people out there that are trying to convince others, everyone here, like the one thing I like about our audience is we're kind of more informed. Hey, because, I do, like today I'll have Provi in the media. Man, there is so much evidence out there now that's come out in the trial. There's so much evidence out there, like the Netflix audio, the false documentation by the investigator. Like there's so much stuff out there now. It's just kind of like all of us who are listening to this podcast, we're kind of like, yeah, it's pretty fishy right now what's going on, right? It really is. And if anyone starts telling us these things, we're kind of way past that. We have too much information now. Way too much, right? And like if someone comes to you and say, oh, and there's more people with evidence who are really wanting to share with you, why would I listen to them? Why don't you just take it to the courts? If you really, really, really have this thing and you have this evidence or whatever it is, go take it to the courts. Why tell people in private? Just bring it open. If it's really true, go take it to the courts. One time someone said this to me, right? And I don't want you, like, some of this stuff is so unreasonable, irrational. When someone told me this, someone told me, oh, but the courts won't listen to us. Sunseam has all the government on his side. Really? Really? Like, talk about one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Look at the trial now and look at the trial in 2009 with the evidence. No one was ever on his side. If they were on his side, why would he go 10 years in 2009, right? Why would he go 10 years in 2009 if they were on his side? Right? So when people said things to me like, no, they're all on his side. Sunseam has like all the government people and these people on his side. I'm just like, come on. Even look at the trial right now. All the mishandlings in the court. Really? If they were on his side, this trial would never even get to this point. If this trial was in America, I bet you this wouldn't even pass pre-trial. especially because they released that audio even before the trial started, this would be a total mistrial. Why? Because it would be trial by jury, but then everyone's basically seeing the Netflix documentary. So it's just, for me, I'm just like, it's so unconvincing at this point. And I feel, for me, is like, man, you guys should have waited. Should have waited for the evidence to come out. And if you don't see it now, I think, maybe some people are a little bit too influenced, right? Or you've reached a point, you've gone too far, you crossed the line where you have no choice but to continue and believe the way that you want. And for me is, the reason why this is my rant for today is because I just, for me, it's unbelievable that it's still going on. Like, people are still trying to convince others to leave and stuff. People are still visiting ex-members and like these people who are trying to get others out and stuff and listening to them. Like, for me, my good friend was the one who told me the Netflix audio is real, and they even checked it with their equipment. It wasn't edited or manipulated. They told me flat out that. So once, and I said, hey, I'm waiting for the experts. And once the experts said it's fake, do you think I can trust this person anymore? Like, when it comes to those things? Really? I can really trust? Someone who says that they checked it themselves, that the audio is real, and they said to me that that was the smoking gun, and then the moment they find it manipulated and fake, then I'm going to sit there and just say, oh, I believe you for everything else. So no, I can't believe. Why would I listen to them anymore? And for you guys out there who might be listening, who are on the other side, how do you trust the Hong Kong and the Australian accuser after they purposely put out manipulated and edited audio as their main evidence? Could you trust them from this point on? Like, for me, it's like, I couldn't trust anything they say from that point on. Even KJS said that they were big liars. So I don't know where you can go from this point. We've come so far with evidence and all the different things coming out. It's so hard for me to even take it. Now, I can't take anything what they say as trustable. I'm saying just those two, the Maple and Amy, right? Plus my friends who told me about the Netflix audio being real and they checked it themselves. I can't trust them. How could I trust them? It makes no sense to me, right? Now that all the truth comes out, nothing to say. And you know what? Even when the audio came out as manipulated and edited, no one called me and say, oh man, I'm sorry. I really, really thought it was real. And that's my mistake. No one has ever called me about that. Has anyone ever called you? Of the people that were trying to convince you, has anyone ever called you and said, oh, I'm sorry, I really thought it was a real audio? No. They've crossed the line where they've reached a point where they cannot come back. That's my feeling, my personal opinion. I am not talking on behalf of Providence. I'm not talking on behalf of CGM. This is a private YouTube channel, and these are just my thoughts, personal thoughts, and that's it. That's it. Those of you guys who know out there, if you're going to try and use this against Providence, you can't. You know why? I am not even being paid by Providence. I am not even under any missions in Providence. This is all private. My personal opinion. That's it. From all the things I've experienced for the last 10, 11 months, it's just what I feel. No one's told me to say this. Actually, in a lot of cases, people leaders in Providence told me not to say these things, but because I'm not employed, I'm not actually under any missions. These is just my personal opinion. It is. And I'll tell you straight up, very unreasonable and irrational when you look back at the last 10 months of all the things that have happened. And, people have to really look and think again of what's going on. Really, you just have to, right? So it's something that I think that I'm just ranting on this because I can't believe it's still going on. I just can't. People are still talking about it. I have zero trust for them, personally. Zero trust. Zero trust for Maple. Zero trust for Amy for putting out that Netflix audio, right? That was fake and manipulated, and they did it knowingly, obviously, because Maple said she did record it, where obviously she did not. She lied, I can't trust that. She lied under oath. I can't trust the people who are trying to convince me to go to their side if they told me that the audio was real and they truly, truly said that they checked it with their equipment. They lied to me. They lied to get me to come to the other side. And I can't accept that. I still, friendship's still friendship, not as close anymore because, why would friends do that to each other and lie to each other for something like this? It's hard, right? And I think for us, we just got to hold on. We're not here to say bad things about other people. We're just here to state facts. State facts, right? Yeah, they lied to me. And they never apologized. Yeah, the two people accusing, they put in evidence that is fake. That is a fact. And they put it in trying to put an innocent man away. Or like making that their most biggest, like, oh, this is our big smoking gun evidence. Absolutely not. To make things even worse, they purposely put it out on Netflix early, right, to sway public opinion. I'm not having that. It's devious. It's devious. If it's really, really true, just do it the proper way. Let it go through the courts. But why do you need to manipulate the public opinion? Why do you need to do it that way? Makes no sense to me. There's something that we don't see, obviously, and more of it's going to come out. So, my rant is finished. And yes, I didn't do it too emotionally because I don't want to become emotionally triggered that I say something wrong, because I don't. I don't want to say anything wrong either. Let's move on because this subject bothers me. This subject really bothers me. Okay, and like I said, I'm only saying it because people were telling me about their experiences and stuff that was recent. But either way, I had a great conversation on the Georgia trip with a friend, and it was about how to build providence properly in your nation. What do you think is going to be the best way to do it? And one of the things that we talked about was the waste of manpower. The waste of manpower. Like, what do you mean waste of manpower? Right? So in this discussion, I want you guys to think about this one. Like, we have such a limited amount of manpower in each country, right? We don't have a lot of manpower. And what we do with our manpower is we scatter them. All those people running full time, we scatter them into like 10 different places. And in each of those places, they cannot specialize on what they're good at, but they have to do everything. Some of them are put into house churches, some of them put into small churches, whatever, thing like that. And in most cases, they're the only ones that are running full time. And what happens is in each of those 10 places that we scatter them, evangelism is very small. With the amount of effort and work put in, evangelism is very, very small. Like the total number of people evangelized in each country is so small, like with a lot of these countries. So we're talking about like, hey, what if you took all those people running and put them into one church? Like all the people that run. And the pro about this, there's pros and cons. And the pro would be you would have a team of people that are specialized, only doing what they are really good at, making like a dynamic team utilizing their strengths. And that one church would probably evangelize more than all 10 places combined, right? Because you have to think about this. It's not about this, it's not really about the size of the church itself. It's about the amount of people that are running in that church that makes the difference, right? And this group of people running together can do bigger things when they are working as one group, highly specialized in their area. Imagine someone so good at bringing people, someone so good at lecturing, someone so good at taking care of people, and someone so good at managing the whole system itself, right? If people are very highly specialized and they work as one body, they can definitely do things better, faster, greater, evangelize more people, right? They can try new methods and ways, become an example for other churches, where if other churches wanted to learn, it's easier for other churches to come and learn by becoming a part of the team for a few months, right? Kind of like how the Lord's Church did in the very beginning, right? Like even when you look at like, say, like we were talking first about internet ministry, there is no one who is an expert in internet ministry. There isn't. So to have meetings about internet ministry kind of makes no sense. To have an internet ministry meeting, to ask about like, oh, how do we reach 1 million? How do we do this? How can we do this better? You can't do it if no one's an expert. It's a pointless meeting, right? It's like it doesn't really work. Like you need someone who's an expert, right? So when it comes to evangelism, if you have a team that's running like a well-oiled machine, what happens is they build this machine, make it fine-tuned and work out, and then it's easier for other churches to come and learn at this church. Come for a few months, learn how the system works, and see if they can implement it in their own churches. But if you separate everyone and they all run separately alone, you will never get that synergy of people specializing in unique skills. And when you have that unique skill, you can make a great team together, focusing on what you are really, really good at, right? And that's kind of like the method is called like the flagship church. You make a flagship church that becomes an example, and you can evangelize more people. But on top of that, eventually, why do you how it works is you grow this church super strong and powerful. And then eventually, when you grow that church a lot, what happens is you send out teams to new regions. No, not one person. You send out a team of 3 that know the system, know how to do it, and they can do a much better job than just sending one person there for 3 years that struggle, eventually burn out, and then they're no longer leaders anymore because it was just too hard. I've seen that so many times. People are sent to a small region, they work so hard, it doesn't work out, and then what happens next? They just don't want to run anymore. It's just they're burnt out. But if you send out a team that knows the system, right? Send them together to a new region, that becomes way more powerful. And that's kind of like how I see it even in the former faith. That's how they do. They send out teams to start a new church. They'll send out a group of like 50 people to start a new church. And they'll have an entire praise team there. They'll have everything ready over there. I think the mindset sometimes we have is, if the more churches we have is the better. And the answer is no. What if you have like 10 churches and then like 7 of them are struggling? Is that really better? Is it just, sometimes I just feel like we might be in that zone of send out more people, start new churches because it looks better on our report to Sunseam that we have 10 churches instead of 3. I think the reality is, like we were talking about this for a while, it's like strengthening what you already have. Make it really powerful and strong and good. Make a central church that everyone looks up to and can learn from. Then grow that church powerfully and strong, and then send people out from there. And not a single person, but send groups out at the same time, maybe even 10 people. And if your church is big, if you grow the church big enough, you'll have enough money to financially support them too for the beginning. That's what the former faith church does too. Now, but that's the pros. What's the cons? The cons is what happens to those other churches. Like, imagine you have all the full-timers leaving those house churches and leaving those small churches. Won't that church crumble? And that's a big concern. But, I do think that is a concern. But so far, we haven't seen any churches crumble. They're not going to grow in numbers, but they're not going to crumble. It just becomes a house church that is connected to another bigger church, and they connect online, which is what a lot of churches are already doing right now, right? So it's kind of interesting because I thought to myself is like, yeah, there's pros and cons to it, but I think the key has to be if everyone in the country sees the same vision and they make the sacrifice at the beginning for the sake of the greater history. You know what I mean? Where people are willing, like, hey, we're a house church, but we get the vision. And we were okay with holding on for about 2 to 3 years until you can send a team of 10 over here, because that would be so much more powerful than sending just 1 or 2 people at a time. And, it was just a very, very good discussion. It was a good discussion. I think it's something that people should think about. It's a good discussion. People should think about it and talk about it in your headquarters or your churches or whatever it is, because the way it's working right now, I don't think it's working. And I think a lot of people would say, yeah, we need to do it a new way, right? So I thought it was a very good discussion. I would like to hear what you guys think about this too. Okay? All right. So that's the first segment for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. Let's move into our first break of the day.
can show him that you want it though. He can show you where you wanna be. You gotta put in words that'll be unseen. Look, and it's just like that. Take it to the golden city just with a snap. You don't even got a trip, no, we got your back. All you gotta do is sit back and relax. There's this love between you and I that is so strong. I don't wanna ever lose it, then I'll be alone. But if I leave his arms, I wonder, I'll be sitting all alone just to ponder. Make up your mind and act as you should. I'ma show you we can be the greatest duo that ever stood. Living with the Lord every day is like my paradise. If you leave your worries and concerns to him, you'll be alright.
Really wanna live with happiness and hope. You gotta live with the one you love the most. And don't forget that even on darkest roads, just find the Lord and grab your heart. Control your deeds. A pretty paradise right from the start.
Paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
The weather's fine, the temperature's cool. 7 on earth, cause I'm with you. Ain't nothing better when we live forever. When we make us to be one true love. Birds of a feather flock together. And it's just like that. Give you my love, cause I don't hold back. Pour me your love, cause I know you got stacks. This love is real, cause we got it like that. Sandy walks on the beach, summertime. Feel the heat, that's a love paradise. Holding hands, cool breeze, cloud 9. Make heaven together with you and I. Sandy walks on the beach, summertime. Feel the heat, that's a love paradise. Holding hands, cool breeze, cloud 9. Make heaven together with you and I.
Really wanna live with happiness and hope. You gotta live with the one you love the most. And don't forget that even on darkest roads, just find the Lord and grab your heart. Control your deeds. A pretty paradise right from the start.
Paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
He can take you where you wanna go. 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 He can show you what you wanna know. He can show you what you wanna know. I have realized I'm not alone, because living with you is like my paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
All right, so let's get into today's word study. And of course, every Tuesday is the practical word study. What are some ways that we can put the words into practice in a practical manner? But okay, so the practical word study today was very interesting because there's a lot of analogies about the furnace and the fire being melted and stuff like this. And it's an interesting concept that we can easily visualize. However, it's not really certain what it actually means. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you'll hear it in the message, like, say in the pre-dawn, they'll recap the message. Oh, we have to be melted and used again and made anew. We have to be the furnace, which is the man in mission, well, all those things are said, right? But what does it actually mean? Like, when someone says to you, okay, so what does it mean to be melted by the furnace? Like, what does it mean? And you're like, wow, like, what is the actual implication that what do we have to do in order for us to really understand what is going on? So I want to talk about like going a little bit deeper into the word, kind of like this, that's what the word study is. We want to go deeper into the word, talk about it in such a way we can understand it more clearly, right? Because sometimes we only understand the visualization, but we don't really understand what it actually means in real life. So the question is like, how do we get melted by the furnace? Well, it's like, well, how do we get melted and made anew? Well, there's two parts. The furnace is the Savior, and the fire is the words of the new time period, right? Words of the time period. And both are needed together, and they cannot be separated, right? And that makes sense to me too. So if you think about that carefully, if you just give the word, people will be inspired, but they cannot come into the new history. Why? Because you cannot come into the new history without believing in the one that God has sent, right? That's clear as day. So you can just hear the word, but it's not enough to come into the new history. So you need both, okay? Now, the second thing I thought to myself is like, what does it mean to be melted? If you're ore or iron, whatever it is, you need to be melted by the fire, right? Well, melted means like, kind of sometimes it means like you are something solid and then you turn into something liquid and have to be made into a new shape again, which means you are no longer the same as you were before, and you're molded into another shape, or you are molded into a better person, or living a better life. So the first thing I was thinking about was what needs to be melted. It's our thoughts, right? It's our thoughts, or our heart, our soul. Like it's the soul entity, right? The heart, thoughts, and mind, right? And the melting of thoughts, which means the melting of your own ways, your own thoughts, doing things without God. But now we have to do it together with God, right? That has to melt. Where in the past, we were always on our own. We're always, I got to do this, I got to do this. But you're changing, and that you're melting those thoughts. So it's, I got to do something with God. Without God, I cannot do this. But when our thoughts get melted, right? What does that mean? Well, when our thoughts get melted by the fire, so the fire is the word, so the word comes into us, it melts our heart and melts our thoughts. And what starts to happen is our heart is no longer in the shape of ourselves, but is now in the shape of God, which means we take on God's thoughts, because that's what we're supposed to do, melting our thoughts. And what does that mean? It means it requires a conscious decision for us to make a real effort to listen to the word. Like a real conscious effort, not just going to church, sitting there, not taking notes, just kind of sitting there and waiting for the service to end, or like kind of zoning out. You need to make a conscious effort to listen to the word, so those words come into your heart. The second thing I thought about is what else needs to be melted? What needs to be melted away is your old actions. The way you act in life, not doing things in the old way, meaning it's the getting rid of sinful actions. You know what I mean? Right? So what has to melt away is our old way of living, right? And what has to be molded is a new way of living without sin, without the same sinful actions we had in the past, right? So then the next question came to me is, so how do we do this? Right? So now we know that to be melted in the furnace means to melt away our own thinking, our own thoughts, our own ways of doing things and putting it towards God, and our own actions, the sinful actions, and changing them into righteous actions, right? Molding into a righteous person. So then how do we do this? Right? And obviously the two things is the furnace and the word of the time period, which is the fire, right? So from a newcomer's perspective, it's very easy because you listen to the 30 lessons, and then you hear the testimonies of who Sansim is and how the word came through him. And then they realize this history, right? Like, oh my gosh, I've come into this, I believe, kind of thing, right? It's very easy. But the one that's a little bit more difficult is for members. It's for us, right? So he's like, yeah, even some of us, we've exhausted ourselves. Our machinery has been exhausted to the point it's finished in our missions, right? Which means this is for people who are already in this history, in the situation of being burned out, in the situation of being exhausted, in the situation where we need to be recreated, melted again to be used again. And this seems like a more difficult concept to understand, right? It does. It seems like a more difficult concept to understand. Is like, oh, okay, so for an existing member, how do we get reshaped? How do we recreate ourselves again? And I thought of two things, right? Number one is, I do think we still need to go over the 30 lessons at least once a year to remind ourselves of the power of the word we learned, to remind ourselves of those principles that are working all throughout the weekly messages, right? You need to know this inside out, and I do suggest people should be going over the 30 lessons at least once a year, or at least like those core eight, at least go over those once a year so you're reminding of yourselves the power of the word, the principles behind it, what we learned in the past. There's one thing, because that one reinforces who Sansim is. Like, this is the person that did. This is the person that we understand and know, right? But I think the second thing that we do have to make a really conscious effort to do is the big focus on the weekly messages. Once you learn 30 lessons, I would say review it once a year. But what are you doing for the rest of the 52 weeks? It's all weekly messages from the Proverbs, from the Proverbs to the Sunday and Wednesday messages. Like, these are things that are so powerful because it is what God is telling us for that week, what we need to do for that week, right? And a lot of people, I know a lot of people that kind of get turned off by the weekly messages because it's not as powerful as the Sunday message. The 30 lessons. 30 lessons are quick, impactful, change of perception. Once you come into this history, the next thing that has to happen is what? The next thing that has to happen is now about you changing yourselves slowly each and every week, each and every day. And that's going to be something that's a daily life thing, right? 30 lessons is that quick, impactful, realize this history, know the history that we're in. However, the second part that's really powerful that we have to understand is we need to change. In this marathon of life, our daily life has to change. And I think this is where people need to raise themselves to a higher level, which is the weekly messages, right? A lot of times we hear the weekly message, but we really don't deeply realize it, right? And something did say in the past is knowing is important, but realizing is essential. Like, you got to get to the point of realization. An example something gave in math, it was math. To just know 2 plus 2, you memorize it, or you count 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's 2 plus 2. I know math, right? I know addition. However, to realize 2 plus 2 is much different. So what does it mean to realize and know? Well, when you realize 2 plus 2, you're going to easily be able to do problems that have never been taught to you, right? Like, no one is teaching you to count 2 billion plus 2 billion. No one teaches you that, right? But when you realize 2 plus 2, you're starting to look at equations you've never learned before, but you realized it, so 2 billion plus 2 billion equals 4 billion. Go into other, like 2 googolplex, like that's supposed to be the largest number. 2 googolplex plus 2 googolplex equals 4 googolplex, right? 2 million, right? 2 million plus 2 million, 2 trillion, 2 quadrillion. These are all numbers in school. You never learn it. But when you realize it, you're like, oh, that makes sense there too. Knowledge goes as far as you learn. So if you only learn up to 20 plus 20, that's as far as you're going to learn. But realization takes you to another level where you can start to answer other questions you have never learned because you get the concept, right? It's just like the 30 lessons. You learn the 30 lessons when it comes to the principle of repeating history, the principle of gradual history. Like, just those 2 principles right there, if you really realize those 2 things, you could see it in every part of the Sunday message. You'll feel it clicks. Right? And that's why the weekly message is something you need to realize. And there's 2 ways to realize the message. Number 1 is don't just listen properly. You have to study the word, like really study the word. That's why we have word studies. That's what we're doing right now. Studying this word. What does it mean? Because just to say, hey, be burned by the word and be reshaped, what the heck does that mean in practical language? We don't know. We have to study it. What does it mean to be melted? What needs to be melted? How do we get to that point? If the word is the fire, then how do we get to the point where that word melts us in what parts of our life, our actions, our speech, our this, our that, our thoughts, right? So we have to listen and study it. Study the word. Study the weekly messages. Have your weekly word studies, but don't do the weekly words. Like, I'm going to tell you something about the word studies that you should not be having. Like, word studies are more important than you think. It should be good word studies that should stretch your spirit, help us to think of things we never thought of. Let me give an example of a bad word study. Bad word study is just sharing. Everyone just share what you realize from the word. That is not a word study. That is word sharing. That's not word study. Studying means to study. Ask the questions. Discuss the questions. What does it mean? We have to be led into a deeper plane of thinking, deeper plane of the word. Share it like, I realize this, but what do you guys think about this? And then the questions come out. What does it mean to be melted? What needs to be melted? Now, if the fire is the word and the fire is melting this, then if it's the word, then how do we have to listen to the word? How is it that the word is affecting us? How can we change even more? How is it that we listen to the word and we still don't change? Like, these are the questions that have to come out in order for it to be a good, proper word study, right? And if you think about it, like, that's the number 1 is having good word studies. or even on your own is great. The second thing, and then after you do that, you can share it, right? And the second thing you need to do in order for us to have a really, to really be able to realize the weekly messages is we need to take action on the word, right? That's, this cliche for us in Providence. You got to try something from the word, no matter how small it is, just try something. Because the word itself comes from Sunseem's action. He does something and he realizes from it, right? And this is why we need to get into that same frame of mind. God talks to Sunseem through his experiences. And in the same way, we have to realize from our experiences in life too and figure out what God is trying to say to us. Kind of like my sharing of my experiences in Georgia, even to something as small as my terrible coffee experience and what I realized through that experience about the human mind, human condition, what God is trying to tell me through that experience. And that's something that all of us have to get ourselves into. Don't just realize from you purposely trying to put the words of God into action. Realize from real life experiences, right? Real life experiences, trying to put the word into practice, living your life, but realizing your everyday normal experience and see what God is trying to say to you, what the Holy Spirit is trying to say to you in that instance too. And this is going to change the way you experience communication with God. What is God saying to you about what this experience you just had right now? You got to think about it. You really do, right? So that's something that I think that we have to understand and think about in a much deeper way also, right? This is like, I hope that this type of word study helps you guys out. Who can ask the right questions, right? Who's going to ask the right questions? Who's going to be able to lead the group into a deeper plane of thinking? Like, oh, I never thought about this. Oh, this makes much more sense now. Oh, Sunseem did this in the past. This is a very good example of it, And that's something I do think that a word study that will change the way that we look and understand all the different things that we do in life. Right? So that is something that is the practical word study I want to go over today, going deeper into the analogy of being melted by the furnace of the word. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is the word study for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that just as I have. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead, leave in the comments below. All right? So let's move into the second break of the day.
All the days we smiled, all the days we assured one another are precious memories. So we won't always be roses and sunshine. There are mountains, there are cliffs we must climb. But even so, I want to go with you. I want to go with you where the light brightly shines. More than before,
even more than yesterday.
more today.
Love you even more today.
We've become more special this way.
Closer to you every day.
As the days keep fading up, they keep fading up. You've become irreplaceable to me, and really
Only you.
love you.
Love you. Only you. Love you. Only you. Love. True love, how can it be explained? You can't express it, no matter what words you use, they're not enough. Your existence is love in itself, being with you each second, each hour, every single day. I want to talk of all things, even the small things, oh thank you. I love you so much, can't keep it to myself. You are the reason I am living, I'm loving you, I live in you, yeah.
Sometimes I feel like your heart is a dream, but this is far more real now than anything. When you're beside me, there's no one so close, there is no one else more precious to me. So we won't always be roses and sunshine. There are mountains, there are cliffs we must climb. But even so, I want to go with you. I want
I'm loving you, I live in you, like the air that surrounds me, like the air that I breathe.
I'm loving you, I live in you.
I'm loving you, I live in you. We'll be together like this, live forever loving you.
I'm loving you, I live in you.
I'm loving you, I live in you, like the air that surrounds me, like the air that I
I'm
breathe.
loving you, I live in you.
I'm loving you, I live in you. We'll be together like this, live forever loving you.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment of today's Tuesday podcast. Hope you guys have been enjoying the podcast so far. We're going to get into Provi in the media, and there are a few things that have come out from some articles that have come out, and I hope it's something that you guys will help you guys see the situation more. I know on the Friday, on Sunday, we had that special announcement, and Pastor Yongsuk, Sunsim's youngest brother, said, hey, please don't share things like this, and this. And one of the biggest problems happening is people like talking trash about other people and gossiping. We don't want to do that. We just want to talk about the articles that have come out. This is what's going on, and these are the things that we really need to pray for. Okay? So 2 articles did come out that I want to go over today, and the first one comes out from the alleged victims, right? So the alleged victims did come out with a statement. And this is what the article says. It says, according to the legal community, on the 8th of October, Sunsim's side is said to be reappealing to the Supreme Court. And we heard about this already. After his application to recuse himself as a judge was recently rejected in the second trial, right? So the judicial recusal was rejected for the appeal, right? So Sunsim, a defendant accused of quasi-rape, filed a motion to recuse the judge from the court on July 17th, ahead of the final argument, citing concerns that the judge hearing his case would conduct an unfair trial. Then afterwards, the second trial proceeded, but each court ruled that there was no concern. Nearly 3 months passed while the prosecution and Sunsim's side engaged in a tug-of-war over the validity of the application for judicial recusal, and as a result, Sunsim's main trial could not proceed. However, as Sunsim's side has expressed his intention to appeal to the Supreme Court again, there are speculations that the first trial sentence on Sunsim's charge may last another year. So there's something, guys, it might last another year, right? So here's what the statement from the alleged victims are. They believe that Sunsim's side is intentionally delaying the trial. And the attorney for the alleged victims said that Sunsim's side has been wasting time by asking the court to examine each of the dozens of witnesses favorable to them. And added, since the court did not accept this, they filed a motion to recuse the judge as their last resort. The intention is to drag out the legal battle for as long as possible and tire out the victims who complain of this trauma. And this is why there are voices of criticism over Sunsim's continued application to avoid this judicial recusal or avoid being judged, right? So while the trial is being postponed indefinitely, Sunsim CGM are putting pressure on the court and the victims through daily rallies and one-person protests saying, please hold a fair trial. And secondary assaults also occur online, right, such as revealing and criticizing the victims' private lives. All right. So the attorney of the alleged victim said some CGM believers are attacking the victims at rallies or on the internet by belittling them, saying they are lying or posting malicious comments about businesses run by the victims by making them public online. And then she added evidence and testimonies of major victims. Although all of this has come out, the sentencing for Sunsim is also getting longer due to the application for judicial recusal, and additional damage to the victims is also being aggravated. Okay. So what they're basically saying is this judicial recusal is done on purpose so that there could be more secondary attacks on them. And what we do know is, regardless of what their opinion is, what is being done is legal, right? Yeah, once you appeal, if it doesn't go through, your final appeal can be to the Supreme Court, right? And what was the reasoning for it? The reasoning for it was, I just said this a little bit before. Yeah, Sunsim's side has been wasting time, but they're asking the court to examine each of the dozens of witnesses that are favorable to them, right? And if you guys know what actually happened is the judge at that time like put a limit on these people because the judge actually said, well, they're all in the same church, so they're obviously going to deny this. So the judge even gave less than 3 hours of time to all the witnesses, and some of them were just only able to put in affidavits, right? So that's why it was considered unfair. It's not something where they're just trying to waste time. There were some unfair things that happened during the trial where all their witnesses were not allowed to give their full like testimonies or go up on stand, right? So they're like saying, please take a look at all the witnesses we have that were not all allowed to do it. They're only given affidavits and stuff, right? So this is where it gets a little bit, it's more of, yeah, they want a fair trial. That's the biggest thing that they're doing right now. Like there could be so many things that could be said at this point. Like I said before, if that audio file is fake, don't you think that there should be, if it's actually fake, don't you think there should be a trial for the accusers for putting in fake evidence? Don't you think there should be something there for that? Like even for them, like how could they just get away with that? Shouldn't there be like a trial for them, right? So like I definitely don't agree if people are slandering them, like online and stuff. I don't agree with that. I don't. Right. And it's something where, we leave it to the judges and the courts and stuff like that too. But, that's something that I don't agree with. And Sunseem even says, don't do it. And this is why, Pastor Yongsuk from headquarters said, please don't talk about this type of stuff and like spread rumors, only the things that are absolutely confirmed, which is exactly what we've been doing over the last 5-6 months. Only what is confirmed. Right. So that's the first article. Second article comes from female face stars. They made a statement, right? And CGM female religious stars, the face stars, claimed damage from being framed as a sex crime group through Netflix's I Am God broadcast. So this another article came out that on October 7th, female face stars from CGM gathered from all over the country at the Morning Star Church, which is somewhere in Gyeonggi-do. I'm not sure exactly where. About 70 church members who are not married and engaged in gospel ministry, both men and women, issued an appeal and a statement to publicize the truth and the injustice suffered by Sunseem. And according to an official of CGM, a face star is a general term for church members within CGM who are not married but engage in gospel ministry full time. A face star can apply for both. It's for both men and women. And meanwhile, through media reports that were biased towards false reports from former members that were face stars and prosecutors' briefings, like Face Stars was sold as an organization formed for the sexual exploitation of Sunseem, which is totally untrue. In a press release issued on this day by CGM, they said that the Face Star said, the Face Stars who made the appeal that day said, a Face Star is in the same position as a Catholic nun or priest, or monk, you'd say nun or monk, who lives cleanly and chastely with Jesus. As a spiritual bridegroom. The love that Sunseem emphasized refers to spiritual love with Jesus, not physical love. And due to Netflix's documentary, which was produced through manipulation and malicious editing, the group was stigmatized as a cult, and face stars suffered enormous psychological and economic damage, as well as damage to their lives as women. And they said, we couldn't sit still in the face of human rights being violated. Right? That's why they are issuing this appeal also. So the face star spirit is to open this is what they're stated as, what is a face star? Is to open the invisible spiritual world of God through our lives, our daily lives. We want to make many people believe in God by testifying in our concrete lives. And they also stated a face star, they also stated that Netflix's I Am God is a broadcast produced based on the one-sided claims and speculations of an informant who is an anti-JMS activist, which is KDH. And we will reveal the truth that the broadcast distorted one by one. So immediately after the announcement of the appeal and statement, the female face stars spoke about why they pledged to become face stars, right? So they started testifying, this is why I became a face star, right? And there's like a bunch of these things out, a bunch of statements of each of them talking about why they became a face star, right? They testified about Sunseem, how they were treated so well. They gave so many testimonies why they became a face star. Some of them have been face stars for like 35 years. Why they want to give their life to God. How much they suffered in their life before meeting this history, right? And then they started going over why the trial is unfair. So I thought that was a bold and powerful statement by these female face stars. And like I said, and it's true, the female face stars are actually suffering way more than the males because the male, no one's going to talk about the males because there's no misconduct whatsoever, but they can't explain why there's a male face star. You know what I mean? Like they only talk about the females, but no one's talking about the males. Like, hey, we're doing exactly what the girls are doing, which is we are, living our lives for God, running full time. And that's something that I think that we have to understand very, very clearly is there's a lot of distorted, a lot of things taken out just so it looks bad. But a lot of people are not. That's why this article keeps emphasizing for face stars is for both men and women. It is. Right? So I think it's a very, very bold, powerful statement that they made. I think it's something that they have to, that them speaking up makes a big difference also. Right? And yeah, it's just really crazy. Like some people who are coming against Sunseam now who are face stars, they don't have that experience. So if you're being raised specifically for that like sexual exploitation, like seriously, think carefully, right? Then why weren't you put in that position? Why weren't you raised for that? Well, when all you've heard is how to live the life properly, where all you've done is lived running for this history. And if anything, if you would say there's any type of exploitation, it would be the amount of work you put in and not getting paid fairly. Like that would be the only thing that I would say, but we do it voluntarily, right? Like that would be the only thing that someone could really, really complain about. But no, like most of these people that even I talk to, the people that are, like we kind of don't understand, like if that's really the case, then how come no one came to me about it? No one tried to prepare me or groom me for that very, very same thing, right? So I do think it's something that we have to, I am very, very, very thankful that there's a lot of people in Korea speaking up on this. And they did go through emotional damage and financial damage. People being like fired from their jobs and such. It's crazy, right? And I do hope that everyone gets paid back according to what they've done. I do, right? And there's a lot of things that we can pray more for. And I'm glad that the female face stars in Korea, those 70, spoke up and made their statement too. And I think it's a very powerful thing that they did. All right. So there it is, guys. That is the Provi in the media for today. I hope it's something that you guys can use in your prayers. And I hope it's you guys will really be able to pray even more during this Esther prayer period that just started yesterday. Okay. So there it is, guys. That is the end of today's Tuesday podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Have an amazing and awesome day. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone.